All right, guys, the Steelers pick is in, and it is, as we'd been expecting, a running back. It's something I began reporting to you a long time ago. Like, I want to say it was about 2.5 months ago in a Friday Insider for DK Pittsburgh Sports that the one position I was 100% sure that they would take would be running back. And then there's Chris sitting here to my left. He's still on the south side. I'm back from the south side. We're over there in the media room. He's going, Caleb Johnson's still there. This was like whenever the picks were in the 50s. And the picks were, he's going, Caleb Johnson's still there. So I didn't have to wonder who Chris was eyeballing as the picks made it into the 70s and everything else. But they got there, Chris. They got their guy. He's out of Iowa. Tell us a little bit about him and why you liked him.
Man, if I were to have done a 7-round mock draft, like at the end and not had to make any trades or anything, there's no way I would have had them taking him in the 3rd round because I didn't think he was going to be there. Like, there's just no way. I had him throughout the entire process. I kept thinking 2nd-round pick. And from people that I spoke with here today, the 4.57 in the 40-yard dash turned some teams off. And when you are one of the slower running backs in a really good class, maybe that turns off some teams. That did not turn off the Steelers whatsoever. There's a lot to like. Comparisons to Le'Veon Bell, maybe even in terms of the type of runner.
Arthur didn't dump on that when it came up.
No, he did not. Just one thing about Caleb Johnson more than anything, he doesn't have the breakaway speed. He's like, it's not one of those things where, like, if he hits a crease, he's gone. It's not that type of guy. But the game speed is faster than the 40-yard dash. But here's something for you. 28 carries last year of 15+ yards.
Yeah.
21 carries of 20+ yards. 6 carries of 40+ yards. This dude gets chunks on the ground. Big time. And
he
that
finds
is
a second level.
And
Jalen Warren does that too. I asked Art how they might work together, and you could tell. I mean, it's an unfair question. I get it. He's coming over. He's sitting in front of us 10 minutes after the pick is made, but there's no way he wasn't already thinking about it, right? And his response was, well, they can both do so many different things. And he even threw in there catching the ball out of the backfield. But then, being the Steelers coach that he is, he had to bring up, they better be able to block because you're not getting on the field. Jonathan says, hang on. I went right by Vic here. Vic comes in with a $20 contribution. Thanks to Dave for the $10 contribution to get us going here. Vic says that the Steelers should have picked up Nick Chubb as a free agent and then used that 3rd pick for another position. Vic, respectfully, and we love you, what have you seen from Chubb since he came back from that awful injury when Minka Fitzpatrick rolled into him? What have you seen from Chubb? Did he look like Nick Chubb to you? Or did he look like just a guy? And believe me, I loved the previous Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one of my favorite players in the league to watch, even when he was going against the Steelers, right? But that's a tough one to come back from, man.
That's a major injury. And the Steelers need something other than, listen, Kenneth Gainwell. You look at the running backs on the roster right now, outside of Caleb Johnson. Jalen Warren just signed his 2nd-round tender, but he's going to be a free agent now. Unless they sign him to an extension, he's going to be a free agent after this season. Kenneth Gainwell is here on a 1-year deal. Cordarrelle Patterson probably going to be gone now, even if he's not.
Oh, let's hope so.
Right.
Sorry.
But let's just say he's not for whatever reason, and he's still here. He's gone after he's got 1 year left. You got nothing but 1 year guys left. What are you going to do? Sign Nick Chubb to a 1-year deal? Now you have to completely rebuild the running back room next year because you might lose Jalen Warren when he's an unrestricted free agent. Who knows what happens? And so this way you get a running back that can really, really grow into something, who did a lot at the college level.
Yes, he did.
A lot. And the thing is, he did a lot when teams knew they were running the football, and he still did it anyway. Like, this is a heck of a pick for the Steelers. I like this pick more than the Derek Harmon pick in terms of where you got a player for like the value that you're getting out of that player. I think Derek Harmon at 21 is a great pick, but to me, this is the best pick so far of these two.
Well, in terms of value, that just to further clarify what it is that you're saying here.
Yeah.
Paulie comes in with a $50 super sticker. You know how we feel about you, Paulie, especially your wicked sense of humor, which doesn't get shared in a sticker. It's so much better when you come along with one of your lines. I'm not criticizing the $50. We have some people here who are pretty familiar with Caleb Johnson's game, watching him in Iowa or being around there. CRU says Johnson's good in pass protection. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's also 6'1", 221, so he has the size to be a blocker as well. As anybody around the Steelers will tell you, you can have size. It's got that comes from in here. Yeah, he can get down. He can get low. He can make sure that he's cutting people, do whatever else it takes. But it looks like they've got a couple of running backs that they can rely on. And I should have done this in my question for Art, and I didn't think about it until the words were halfway out of my mouth here. I did not mean to omit Kenneth Gainwell from the conversation. They do not see Gainwell as just a kick returner. They do not see him as just a spare part. They want him involved. They saw what he did to them in Philadelphia after Saquon Barkley couldn't go in that game in the regular season here. Sushma says, Chris, does Caleb resemble Rashard Mendenhall in body and style?
No,
he looks like him. I'm going to say that. His resemblance. He has some Rashard to him.
He looks like him, but it's not the same running style. Mendenhall was more of a. I actually use the Mendenhall comp for Amarian Hampton.
Okay.
That was more of my comp. Bigger body, but he can move. Like, he could run. And if he got full head of steam, just pure physics takes over at that point. Mendenhall, no, I really do like the comparisons to Le'Veon Bell. He's a bigger guy, but he's really light on his feet, and he could put his foot in the ground and just take off
Garrett,
as soon as he wants to go. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris. Nobody's, including Chris right now, as I'm trying to come to your defense here, nobody's making actual comparisons. When we do this, especially around draft time, we're talking about styles. We're talking about somebody that visually they remind you of. That's all. That's just like we weren't saying about Derek Harmon. Oh, he's like Cam Hayward. No, man. Cam's been in the league for almost 2 decades. You know, he's got all these all-pros, and he's headed to the Hall of Fame and everything else. That's Cam Hayward. Nobody's comparing him to that. Stephen Craig says, along with a $5 contribution, do you think the Steelers should next go offensive line? Which area of the line, tackle or the interior, should they target to best protect their quarterback? I'm not putting anything else into another tackle. I'll tell you that right now. But I will say this. When it comes to the next pick, when I'm thinking about I had been prepared, Chris, to just write off quarterback if it wasn't going to come on day 2. But look at how many of them are still sitting there, because it actually truly was not a great quarterback class, certainly not a coveted one. Okay,
and that's what the league is telling you right now.
Yeah, Will Howard is out there right now. Okay, out of your quarterbacks, I know you would take Jalen Milroe.
Oh, he's gone now.
Oh yeah, who got him? I didn't know that.
Seahawks.
Okay, great. So it's Will Howard.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, fourth round.
Don't do it.
I kind of
don't. I'm gonna unplug this show. Don't do it, Halleck. Don't you? Look at you. Look what you're doing.
But I mean, just look. Okay. For the 4th round,
how many headaches do you want in that room?
I'm just looking at the player. I understand, like, we can question the arm. That's a legitimate concern. It's an average NFL arm. And whenever the weather turns to December and January, you're going to be wondering if he can put some zip on the ball whenever it's 15 degrees with 15-mile-an-hour winds coming off the river. You know, I get it. But there isn't a quarterback in this class that's as unflappable in the pocket as he is. And if you get a quarterback like that who's already that advanced in the 4th round, I'm considering it.
Awesome. Maybe he'll be legendary. S4000 comes in with an incredible $100 contribution to the program. Thanks to everybody so far, including US 4000. Caleb Johnson's running style says reminds me of Nick Chubb. He's able to break tackles and bounce to the outside while still running downfield. Excellent pick. And this might be the reason, Chris, you were saying that the 40 isn't going to impact too many, points of view here. They're looking a lot more at balance. What's your ability to sustain your motion? Not just in the trademark now, angry runs, but just like what S4000 is really nicely describing here, which is to keep the momentum moving forward. Find a way, but don't slow your step down to get it done.
Yeah, and the one great thing about Caleb Johnson is, and this will be, I'm already just going to let everybody know, Monday's Chalk Talk is going to be Caleb Johnson. And I am so looking forward to doing it because I have been looking for a reason to really dive into the film on this guy because I've watched a little bit, in order to prepare. I'm ready to fully dive in because what I've seen so far, he never, like every time he's going to be tackled, he gets it. He gets another yard or two. What was the number that I saw? I have it in my. He averaged a ridiculous. I'm literally reading this from my story I wrote. 4.42 yards after contact per attempt. Almost. Wow,
even in college, that's incredible. Yeah, even in college, that's incredible.
Seriously, like he doesn't like. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be tackled and I go down where I'm being tackled. It's always getting more. And sometimes he doesn't even go down at that point. He just this is a great pick. It really is.
I mean, I couldn't be happier. Chris couldn't be happier. But guess what? There's one individual who's happier than both of us. In fact, he's happier than both of us combined. Let's just say his name rhymes with Martha Slith. Okay. The coordinator, the coordinator is ecstatic about this pick. And justifiably so. This was he wanted a running back. He felt that this team needed somebody else to work with Jalen. They went out, they doubled up on it. That's one of the things you hear me say this all the time. Whenever the Steelers are aggressive early in free agency, even when they might chase somebody in the draft, they'll still go and get another guy. And they did that with Kenneth Gainwell. And Gainwell, I don't mean to be, you're going to make a mistake by tossing him out of this. Only reason he wasn't on the field more for the Eagles is because Saquon's over there.
Right.
Okay. So they've got 3 of these guys now. They've got offensive weapons. They've got people at virtually, is it virtually or is it every position?
I mean,
what are we talking about? Do we know a right guard? I don't know. I mean,
but where are they weak?
Broderick? Well, Broderick Jones.
Well, okay, yeah, that might be the weak, but okay, let's look at just skill positions. Obviously, quarterback, it's still in flux, but even if everything, your fail-safe is Mason Rudolph. That's your fail-safe.
Mason can run this offense.
Right. And so he's got DK Metcalf, George Pickens to throw to, Calvin Austin as a 3, Roman Wilson. Yes, I'm going to bring up Roman Wilson because I think he can play, and yes, he does exist. Pat Freiermuth at tight end. Now you've got a running back room of Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, and Kenneth Gainwell. Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell can both be on the field on third downs because they're both good receiving backs and both good in pass protection. And Caleb Johnson, I know somebody said he's good in pass pro. He needs some work. And that's not just my opinion. That's people I've actually talked to throughout the entire draft process. He needs work there.
He'll get it.
Oh, he'll get it. He'll get it. That's one part I never. And the thing is that
he will block.
It's not because he's not willing. It's just you got to work on the technique a little bit, and
he'll block. And he'll get that not just from Eddie Faulkner, who is a really underappreciated, I feel, coach in the Steelers 100%. World, but also from an elite pass blocker in Jalen Warren. Talk about an underappreciated aspect of this football team, right there. I love this. I really do here. Oh, no, here comes the other stuff. Look what you started, Chris. I'm skipping right past all of it. I mean, absolutely. Look how fast I'm scrolling here. Scrolling still. Oh, my God, people. You have just totally taken this bait from this network. They're trying to Tebow you, and they're trying to Tebow everybody. Listen to me. There have been 3 rounds of this NFL draft. There have been 96 choices.
More than that.
32 oh yeah, right.
Because of compensatory picks, yeah.
32 teams have gone through whatever it is, like around 100 of these picks.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you that the network was just trying to play a trick on you. They were trying to Tebow you. I can't think of a better word for it than that. Let's get past it, okay? Well, Vic comes in with $10, and we can't say no to that. He says, I bet my sons Bobby and Jeremiah that the Steelers would not pick he who shall not be named on this program at 83. My Apple Pay works very well. Listen to me. I'm going to make a case for Will Howard here, and it's got nothing to do with the network or the T-bowing or anything else here. When I watch Howard, I see a player who progressively got better, who looks like a pro-style quarterback. And now here again, we're not going to get into comparison points in terms of what he is. But when I look at his style, you know who he looks like? Mason.
Yeah.
I mean, he stands tall in the pocket. He'll see the field. He can throw it down deep. He's got the size. He doesn't need any help looking over the line the way Russell Wilson. Well, he didn't even try. You have a guy that you can bring in. Remember the stuff Art Rooney said in January about how he would prefer to have a quarterback room of similar quarterbacks. Okay. Well, if you get that and you get somebody else or whatever, and Aaron Rodgers calls it a career, maybe you have something.
Yeah. And listen, I do agree with that. I know that Mike Tomlin's feelings on Will Howard have evolved over time, and they are more favorable than they used to be. I know that the Steelers have met with Will Howard on multiple occasions now. They met with him at the Combine. It was a formal interview. I saw some people report that it was an informal interview. I can tell you right now that was a formal interview. So that meant like it was the big interview in Indianapolis. And then they had dinner with him ahead of his pro day. So they've dipped their toe in the Will Howard water multiple times. There's intrigue whenever you do that. It's been the same with Derek Harmon. Now, they didn't bring Will Howard in for a pre-draft visit, but they've met with him multiple times. And look at Derek Harmon, look at Caleb Johnson. What have they done with those guys? They met with them multiple times. So it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, those are real clues. Snowman says, will the Steelers draft another defensive lineman in the 5th or 6th round? We continue to bring this up, whether or not they're going to go and get somebody who is, more of the true nose type. They don't have that player on this roster, at least not of, that specific old school type nose guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that it's very, very possible for sure. You got to think about depth beyond, because obviously your top 3 guys now are Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, and Derek Harmon, whatever order you want to put them in. Obviously Cam at the top. But
they got to play.
They got to play. But also remember with Cam Hayward, this is a big thing to remember. And this is why the Derek Harmon pick makes a lot of sense, and why even taking another guy makes even more sense. Cam Hayward played like 70% of the snaps last year, maybe less.
Really? He was, yeah.
I mean, now granted, they manage that for a reason. They number one want to keep him healthy, and also the more fresh he is, the more effective he is. So you don't want to increase his workload. If anything, you'd like to decrease it a little bit more. Maybe he's only on the field 2/3 of the time. But that means when Cam Hayward's not on the field, okay, who's on the field? Is it Keanu Benton and Derek Harmon? Okay, that might work. What about if one of those guys is injured, or what? You have to think about depth, and everybody else after that. You have to think about who's the next guy on the field, because Cam Hayward's not on the field 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. So you have to think about the overall depth of the room, and adding another nose, like a legitimate nose, gives you also multiple options because you have Keanu Benton who can do it. You have Montravius Adams who can do it. But you want to have options. You want to have as many good bodies up front as you can.
A lot of people bringing up that Will Howard is also athletic. He can get out, and they run design plays for him. They ran design plays for him to get out of there at Ohio State. Before that, when he was at K-State, he got some of that done as well. So he can add a different dimension to. I'm telling you, when I see that, and I see that trajectory, and I see that arrow, and I see him going into stadiums, big stadiums on Saturdays, and winning big college football games. That's something that the head coach here values. Noah Lang comes in with his own $5 contribution, says, are we bummed that aside from the puzzling Gabriel pick, the Browns are having a great draft, including the haul they got for trading down in round one? The Browns aren't alone in the AFC North. The Ravens are having themselves a pretty nice draft, unless, of course, you start digging into some of these players' character. Okay.
Well,
now, if you don't care about character, you're going to be just fine with Mike Green. But overall, Baltimore's gotten some guys.
Yeah, no, it's funny because their first two picks, it's like the polar opposite in terms of character, because Malachi Starks is a high character guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Green, obviously, like he was probably, if you're just looking at on the field, he should have been maybe a top 15 pick.
Oh, yeah.
Like legitimately.
First rounder. Easy. Yeah.
And like first half of the first round. And he slides that far because of the allegations against him. And yeah, so, but yes, on the field, they've had a heck of a draft. And the Browns, I have to look back and actually see the exact names, but every time they've picked, I've been like, I haven't been overly impressed, but I've also thought that they've done a pretty decent job too. The Mason Graham pick I get, but he also wasn't my favorite defensive tackle in this class either. So
don't rule this out too, though. When we talk about trades or any kind of player transactions in sports, we'll almost always say that the team that comes away with the best player, singular, wins a deal. So you can say what you want about the haul that Cleveland got, but if Jacksonville gets even 50% of what some people are saying Hunter can do in the NFL, and I'm not even talking about the two-way stuff, okay? I'm just talking about whatever it is that if he just ends up being a one-way player, the way people are speaking about his ceiling and his potential is that he would be easily the best player in the draft. Easily. And if that's the case, I can promise you no one in Jacksonville is going to sweat whatever draft picks they gave up to get him.
Yeah, hearing the new GM talk about it, now granted he didn't say the expletive. He kind of like bleeped himself out, but it was kind of like screw them picks, pretty much. And that's pretty much their mentality.
He did. That's a GM should never say stuff like that because you never know when you're going to need to be on that end.
Yeah, I know. But he's also really young. He looks like I could be his father.
Right. And Kyle Dubas could be his grandfather. Polly says,
no joke.
I know Chris said Roman Wilson is here, plus George Pickens is still here. Boots on the ground reporters. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Was anybody else telling anybody that they were absolutely 100% sure to take a running back? Was that happening? Was that coming from your networks or anything?
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny because throughout this entire draft, and I'm not trying to do pat on the back or anything like that, but again, like been telling you guys since January, defensive tackle has been the priority. What did they pick in the first round? Did the same thing last year with offensive tackle. I went to the owners' meetings before I even moved up here. And because I still had, like talked with people that from whenever I did cover the team in 22 and like went to the owners meetings. And when I did get boots on the ground where the team was, immediately had people tell me, yeah, it's going to be offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
That's our focus. And that's what they did.
Some observations regarding the pick here. Emery White says that Caleb is much bigger and will definitely add weight without losing any speed. He doesn't have a slender type build to him.
No.
You know, I keep coming back to Richard, but that to me is a little bit of how he looks like. Lev, when he showed up, we're going to do Lev Bell comparisons, was a totally different player by year two in terms of his physique.
Oh, yeah. Okay?
Lev was a big dude. He almost looked at him like, and he came with a lot of extra weight. It was when he lost the weight that he became the
shifty
jukey
guy,
with a line. Right. Brent Haynes says, I'm from Iowa. Caleb is hard to stop. Steelers haven't had a passing game in years. Defense has filled the box on us, and he just will not quit fighting for every yard. Arthur Smith had an interesting remark tonight whenever the subject came up of, is this becoming an Arthur Smith offense, meaning run. He came back with, I had Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
We were gonna run. I get where he even said something like, I get it. I get where the label comes from. Okay. But we also want to take shots because we just added DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna throw to him. That's so he has never liked being, put in some kind of a tight quarters or and I can respect that too, because if you have not just Metcalf but also George Pickens, you've got a couple of guys that can go deep, and if Calvin Austin can continue to improve as he has his own way of busting free downfield, as we have seen on occasion. I have some over here that are starred. I want to make sure that I get to here. Cody Silva says, Chris and DK, what do you guys think will be next? Defensive tackle, running? Not going to get another running back.
Probably
offensive
not,
line. Any good guards out there? I think it'll be a quarterback, Chris.
It's possible. I definitely think quarterback is up there. It is on their list. I like I said, I said before the draft, I was like, I would be shocked if they did not take a quarterback at some point with these 6 picks. It wouldn't surprise me if the next one's a quarterback, given a number of guys that are still left. Look at the number of teams that have already taken a quarterback, and then add all the other teams that don't have to worry about a quarterback because they either have a franchise guy or they just don't need one. So yeah, it's very, very possible, and they could possibly have their pick between Will Howard, Shadur Sanders, Kyle McCord, all these guys. They could just have their pick of the litter.
And by the way, just as for any of you who don't read the ticker that I typed up for you that's running across the bottom of the screen, if you're wondering why we're not telling you what Arthur Smith had to say about, having Mason Rudolph as a quarterback, which he still has yet to comment on, it's because he made it really clear when he came in, or shortly after he came into the room, I'm here to talk about Caleb Johnson, as in he was told, shut up about the quarterbacks. Okay, go in there and talk about the running back, and that's it. Isaiah comes in with a $5 contribution and says, are there any defensive linemen or running backs that you think the Steelers might double dip for as the board currently stands? We still want this nose tackle, Chris.
Yeah, and I have to go back through and look, because obviously once the Steelers make their pick, I'm not sitting there watching the ticker and seeing who's all being taken and everything. I'm going to look through the list here, and then I'll give an answer. But I don't think Jamar Caldwell's been taken yet. I don't think CJ West has been taken yet. So those two guys still being available. Those are both actual nose tackles. So let me look at that real quick and make sure that they're actually available.
Yeah, and even nose tackle doesn't mean what it used to, even if you're talking about an alleged pure nose tackle, going through some of these to see if there's anybody who's coming at us with something that doesn't have anything to do with the network or their Tebow of the year.
Yeah, there's still some really good ones left. CJ West out of Indiana, defensive tackles. CJ West out of Indiana. Jordan Phillips from Maryland is still left. Ty Robinson. Matt Williamson really likes Ty Robinson out of Nebraska. JJ Pegues. Pegues is the guy who can also play. He can also be like a fullback on short yardage situations, and you can actually give him the ball, and he'll just go get that yard for you because he's really big and he's really athletic and he can do it. There are a number of, again, this is it's not like defensive tackles aren't being taken. They are, and there's still a really good amount of defensive tackles left.
Just walking out of the Steelers facility today, and Matt Williamson was doing some recording, And so I couldn't say anything verbally, but I go like this to him. I go, and he goes,
Yeah.
So that's your sneak preview to Matt Williamson's Scout's Eye podcast for tomorrow.
So
He was very happy with the pick.
I can give you a little behind the scenes stuff. So whenever I made it to where was it? To the owners meetings. First night I got there, my plane lands. I get there. I met up with Matt and Dale Lawley for dinner, and we were sitting there talking. And of course, we just talk about football, even though it's work. We still talk about football just because we like football.
Guys are so boring like that, but it's the truth. It's amazing. Yeah. It never stops. Go ahead.
No, and so Matt and I started talking about running back specifically, and I kept talking about Caleb Johnson. He's like, I have yet to really, really do my homework on him. He's like, I've done a little bit, and I was like, good Arthur Smith fit, and I started talking about him, and then the more Matt started doing work, he's like, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's just funny how we were having that conversation, and then yeah, it's interesting to see, especially with somebody like Matt's background, to also know that the stuff I've been hearing is not just this off the wall stuff. Whenever I talk with somebody like Matt who knows what he's talking about. Yeah.
Jeremy Fedor gets one of our last questions in tonight. Says, you guys hear any chatter on why the Steelers did not trade for another third rounder? I didn't. And you got to understand one thing, just for people who don't know this, the GM and the coach don't come in every night. They come in after the first rounder. So the only Steelers person with whom anybody was speaking tonight was Arthur Smith, and Arthur would not be getting into trade stuff. He told everybody, he goes, I'm the coordinator. Yeah. I'm just writing out the playbook here. I know what my role is. And he keeps it that. Chris Arkwright says he thinks Caleb's going to put on 10 pounds before his first game.
I don't think he needs to put on any weight. I don't think he needs to put on any weight.
Yeah,
at all.
I know. I can tell you this much: these guys will come in. The strength and conditioning people, I should say, will look at them. But more than anybody, it's going to be Faulkner and it's going to be Mike Tomlin who look at him and say, how do you feel when you're doing this, or what do you feel about being at this weight? Have you played at different weights, obviously, in your career? Has it fluctuated? And that's when you give him something. But I'll also tell you this, and Chris knows what I'm about to say. Tomlin will tell everyone, we have no idea what your conditioning is, what your ideal weight is until year 2. We just don't. You are not in, and this is what he calls it, NFL shape when you get here, no matter what you do.
Yep.
You're going to need to be with us for a full year to get that. Mark Cunningham asks, Chris and DK, chances that the 4th round pick is a quarterback, where would you put it? Around 75%, Chris?
I don't know if I'd go that strong. Again, day 3 is day 2 already had a good amount of kind of surprising picks. Again, Caleb Johnson going all the way to 83. I would have never guessed that he would have been there. I was thinking DJ Giddens possibly. I was thinking maybe RJ Harvey. RJ Harvey went before. The Broncos are the team that took him. Day 3 is even more unpredictable. I remember a couple of years ago, Corey Trice goes all the way to the 7th round, even with the medical concerns. He had a 4th round grade on him, and even with the medical concerns, him going all the way to the 7th round, and the Steelers obviously getting the chance. We'll take the chance because if the health stuff works out, then we got ourselves a player in the 7th. So it's so hard to predict. I'd say probably most likely, if you're twisting my arm, I'd say quarterback, but
Steeler girl who's all the way out in Hawaii, unless I have that mistaken. I believe that's where she is marveling that we're up after midnight, Chris. We're going to be up till sunrise. Steeler girl, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of writing, and we're not alone because we have a reporter out in Dodger Stadium covering Paul Skeens and the Pirates leading the $1 billion Dodgers by a score of 3-0. And we have a hockey writer out in Allentown, PA, covering Taylor Haas. She's covering the minor league playoffs that just took place and ended out there. So we're everywhere. Sports writing, Steeler girl, happens at night. We live night lives. This is not something that's all that unusual. Josh says, thanks for the coverage. We appreciate Yins. And Steeler girl does, in fact, confirm that I am stalking her. Look at that. She's in Hawaii.
It won't be as late of a night as it was last night because I won't be knocking out a chalk talk tonight. And by the way, chalk talk for just I'm not a peek behind the curtain. That's like at least 2 to 3 hours from the time that I'm beginning the actual recording process to the time the video gets uploaded to YouTube. Like it is at least 2 or 3 hours. And that's not including all the time that I actually spend studying the film and like everything. Yeah, so it's a good amount of work. But yeah, it's still going to be a late night. Like it's 12:36 right now. I'd be happy to be in bed by 3:00. Happy.
Look at Mark Crowley trying to jinx the baseball team out there in Dodger Stadium. What are you using a term like that for, dude? Come on. Is Skeen still pitching? Let me see this. What's happening out there? Oh no, he's been out for a while. 6 1/3, 9 strikeouts, 5 hits, and no runs for the best pitcher in baseball. Ryan Barucki 2/3, Dennis Santana with an inning, and we'll see who's going to end up finishing this in the 9th. They might ask Santana to go twice, would be my guess. Meaning, to go back out there for the 9th. We'll see how that goes. Now, before we sign off here, we have had some incredible contributions, and we are not going to let them go unappreciated here. Paulie came in with a 5, but that doesn't tell the story because he also dropped a $50 super sticker onto that. Stephen with a 5. Florida Dave actually got us started tonight with a 10. Vic is a reliable $20 in there. Vic also had a 10 to make sure that he sneaked that one word in there that we weren't allowed to speak on this show, but good job, Vic. Super sticker of $5 from Thomas. Cody Silva, who's had some nice things to say about the show. Isaiah, both of them in with 5. Snowman in with 5. And I am saving the biggest one for the last. That was our friend S4000, who's been with us for a while, not only with the incredible $100 contribution, but also the terrific observation about Caleb Johnson that gave me, honestly, before I have a chance to do my own work on him, my own first thing to think about. And this, by the way, guys, is what we're talking about when we talk about the community, okay? If we came on here and just fed off the same crap that the network was doing and talking about the same guy that they're trying to turn into an artificial Tim Tebow, nobody's getting anything out of this. Yeah, that's why I did that. That's why I set up this show the way I did tonight. I didn't want to go through the whole you and this and that and national media and whatever else. Let's just talk football here,
Yeah. Let's talk about Caleb Johnson. It was a really, really good pick for this football team. It fits a need, and it fits a need without having to go reach for somebody. It's not like, we're definitely taking a running back and we're just going to take one. Doesn't matter how many go off the board or anything like that. There was no gigantic run of running backs today. Several went for sure, but with how deep this class is, there was not this gigantic run. This was not a reach at 83.
These have been 2 very good days for your favorite football team. Okay, let's see how tomorrow goes and see if they can add to their future at the most important position. I'm looking forward to that a lot, especially if it's Will Howard. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Bye.